Okay. Moving on to diverse learner needs, notice that you're going to choose one of the categories in the chart and discuss at least one specific student or groups with similar needs for whom you're planning specific supports in your lesson. And if you have listed something in the context for learning, um, you should be addressing that in the diverse learner needs. If there's a 504 plan or if there's students with IEPs, they should be addressed in the diverse learner needs. Okay, so you're going to choose one of these categories uh, and be sure to identify all of, or respond to all the prompts within one of those areas. Um, for example, however, you shouldn't be writing about a 504 plan here if you haven't addressed a 504 plan in your um, context for learning. Okay. Then, of course, you're going to write about the materials and resources needed to implement that lesson. And now we're finally, it seems like it took us a while, but we're actually getting to the lesson itself. What kind of lesson starter will you be using? That engaging piece that grabs a student at the beginning of a lesson. What are you going to be doing as a teacher? What are you going to have the students doing in response? Your focus and purpose, procedures, again, going through the lesson plan process, developing the lesson, getting to where you have a closure in the lesson. Make sure you're going to include all documents related, such as rubrics, handouts, any kind of worksheets you're having the students do, graphic organizers. If you give any kind of assessment, include that, as well as the answer key. Okay. Once you've done that, you're going to be talking about how you're going to assess that. How are you going to know that your students have learned what you were planning to teach? If you use backward design, you would have already have thought about this. When you plan your lesson, think about, okay, if I want to teach this lesson, what am I going to have the students do that's going to give me information and let me know that they have understood the lesson that I taught? And that's where this is going to come in, your assessment. You can have a pre and post assessment. You can have formative assessment during the lesson. These can be formal as far as quizzes or tests. They can be informal or like raising hands, doing a thumbs up signal, a ticket out of class, something that gives you some kind of assessment as how the students are understanding your lesson. And of course, a summative assessment at the end of your lesson, giving you that final picture. Okay, and that document piece that we just spoke about will be turned in as the lesson plan, and you're expected to use the assessment plan above to gather very specific data about the performance of your students and understanding of your students on your lesson. And remember, you're going to be looking at that to assess how well you did and what changes you might make. So let's look at that, the post-lesson analysis. Okay, again, of the 6 following categories, you're required to do analyzing teacher effectiveness and analysis of student learning, and then you must choose one of the remaining 4. So these first 2, everyone will do, and then you will choose which other kind of assessment of your teaching you would like to do. Again, you're going to address each of the prompts in that section that you choose to do, and you're going to include any rubrics, handouts, checklists, worksheets, answer keys, everything that you use, you'll include in your submission. Okay. One difference in the assessment piece is that we would also like you to include student work samples. So if you identify something in your student's performance, we want you to add a student work sample that shows you the kind of pattern or that you assessed in your students. So if you found out that everybody was struggling with Newton's third law, then you would include a student work sample that showed how the student understood Newton's third law, and you would use that as an example to point out how you found this pattern in the student performance. Okay. We have a checklist that helps you as you're preparing to make sure you've got everything ready. Some thoughts about the direction you're going to go in writing your lesson. These will kind of help formulate those for you. And then we have the rubrics. First is the rubric to be filled out by the field experience teacher. Again, please let me stress that this is the EdTPA rubric, and EdTPA is intentionally developed such that the good quality teacher candidate will score consistently at level 3. You might have a few level 4s and possibly a level 5, maybe 1 or 2, but generally speaking, most teacher candidates are going to be scoring at the 3 level. So I want to emphasize that because I know how some of you stress when you don't get what appears to be the highest level on every rubric and assignment that you do. You need to think about this rubric as 3 being the highest level you can score, and 4 and 5 you can think about as bonus levels. But we don't want to create a bunch of stress and have people going crazy on us because they're not scoring at level 4 and 5. Level 3 is an excellent score. And for the state licensure, level 3 is what you will need to average. Okay, so that one will be filled out by the field experience teacher, and then the remaining one is filled out by the lead instructor. Again, it's exactly like the previous one as far as the levels go. If you look, you'll note that there are 15 different categories that will be addressed, and those are straight from the guide for EdTPA. Okay, so hopefully this has answered some of your questions, and we'll deal more specifically with the lesson plan assignment in another walkthrough. So thank you very much, and good luck. I hope you enjoy your experience and it helps you become a better teacher.